Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Migrant stakeholders run Billy Abimwebili. Emisinde jigenda okubera kusawa ekololo ku Sunday nga 2 October. Tudduka okusonda ssente okuddabiriza ekifo ekibudabuda bankuba kyeyo nga bakomyewo. Eddembe lya bannayuganda bakolebwe buvunaanyizibwa bwaffe era kitukakatako okulwanirira eddembe n'obwenkanya mu mirimu gy'abankuba kyeyo. N'olwekyo weetabe mu kuddabiriza ekifo kino ng'ogula kiti ya $2.5 okuva ku petrol station za Shell Kabalagala, Shell Lugogo, Capital, Shell Najjanankumbi, Shell Nansana, Shell Namambe ne Shell Buloba. Biwagidwa Star Times, Reham, Fresh Dairy, Roofings, Housing Finance Bank, Maritime Cargo. Olwo ne bikutusibako ofisi ya President ku nsonga z'emitala w'amayanja, Uwera ne Migrant Workers Voice. Nebitegekebwa Sinat Advertising.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Besigye.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digital.
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here, Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome to the Interface with Dr. Besigye. It is such a good morning, and I hope each and every one of you has had a very wonderful week throughout the week, and yet we are catching up with a wonderful weekend. We really appreciate whatever you've been able to do, whatever that you do that adds something to the development of this country. We really appreciate you, and we pray that you will continue to do whatever you do despite the challenges that you continually face. This is the show where we always sit and talk to Dr. Besigye as he shares different alternative views on the rule of law in this country, on the economy as it runs. We know our debt keeps on rising up each and every day. And as he discusses a number of issues, the education system of our country, this is the show that you should always be expectant of every Saturday. And as I said, it is according to your demands as you, our viewers, and we have chosen to act upon your demands that one weekend shall always be in Uganda, and another weekend we shall be having our program in English, so that we bring each one of you on board, so that we all move together as we hear the gospel of change that Colonel Dr. Besigye keeps preaching to us. You are welcome. We don't take you for granted. We really appreciate the MBs that you spend to watch and learn, to listen through, so that you may be informed and then inform others. Please get that link and share that page. It is the Alternative Uganda. That is our Facebook page, and our YouTube page is also the Alternative Uganda. We are also live on Digitalk TV. Doctor, you are welcome, and say hi to our viewers.
Thank you very much, my brother Segawa, and it's always a great pleasure to be here. I thank the Alternative Digitalk for hosting me every Saturday. so that through your airwaves we may share with Ugandans our different views. A very good morning to all of you out there who have joined in, wherever you are joining us from. It's a pleasure to be with you. And I also add my voice in thanking you for everything that you are doing and for keeping on fighting to thrive in our country and to cause our country also to thrive. So I'm sympathetic to all those who have had challenges, lost dear ones, have patience, and all other challenges that our people are going through at this time. And certainly for those who have had good events of celebrations, I also join you in celebrating. The other weekend we also enjoyed the wedding of our young brother, the Honorable Zake, in Francis Zake in Mitiana, where there was a lot of merry making. And of course, in the last weekend, I wasn't also here because we suddenly lost a mom to one of our colleagues, freedom fighter Chapa Karuhanga, and we had to take that Saturday off to go and pay our respects to the departed old lady. So you are most welcome to this particular program, and I wish you good viewing.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. Thank you for always giving us this time so that you go on and speak to the people out there. Doctor, Ugandans are really just surviving. When you talk about that, you are emphasizing that as you keep on surviving, keep on striving, keep on doing this, when will this ever end? Will Ugandans ever enjoy their country?
Well, and I say so fully aware of the challenges that the greatest majority of Ugandans go through daily, simply to live.
Simply to live.
Yes, to have a room where they stay. There are many people in our city here now who cannot afford rent, who have been shifting from one of 500 to one of 300 to 200 to 100, and they keep on extending further and further, but even the little that they are in, they can't afford. So there are many people who can't afford 2 meals a day, and even the one they have really is not a nutritious meal to maintain good health and so on. So there is a lot, and especially for young children, if one went through that kind of tough life as an adult, that you may be able to understand it. But for kids, they can't understand why they cannot have food. They can't understand why others have gone back to school and they are not able to go back to school, and yet they have you as their parents. They cannot understand many things. So it's a very traumatic time for most Ugandans. But as I have also always said, we are in a very deeply divided country, where a handful of people, some few people, have it all, don't even know what to do with what they have. They simply have so much that they can't simply know what to do with it. And that is the dilemma that makes it even more necessary to address, because where you have that kind of disparity, you'll have conflict.
Those that they have,
yes,
have
yes,
it all.
yes, and
Those who don't have,
yes, and
totally
so
don't
you'll
have.
have conflict. The ones who don't have will see these who have as enemies, And the ones who have, we also see these ones as indeed their enemies. That's why, you know, whoever builds any house here must put a high wall and put, you know, barbed wires on top and have fierce dogs.
And then hire a scar.
Yes, yes, because they clearly know that those who are on the outside are bad off, and they think that their being bad off has something to do
with those who are
with those who are well off. So the conflict is also real, growing, and very dangerous. You know, the other Saturday, you remember we were talking about people celebrating the death of others. That's where it comes from.
So the poor celebrate the death
Yes,
of
they
the
say,
rich.
oh, so you can also die. You know, and it should be understandable. You know, I saw people, you know, saying, you know, this is not our African culture. African culture is not about yes, yes, absolutely. Africa, Ubuntu, which is African culture, is about sharing.
So since it was eroded, we expect
Yes,
other cultures to
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
So when we talk about the challenges most Ugandans are facing, it should also be understood that it's potentially explosive. It can lead to the breakup of the country, to violence and instability that can last very, very long time. And so...
Is it by design?
And so, yes, so it's important to understand where it is coming from so that we can equally understand how to deal with it, how to end it, how to tackle it. And you see, as you said of the African people and African culture, we are social beings. We are social beings who ordinarily shared everything. Shared our grief, shared our, you know, happiness and successes and so on. But with the advent of especially external interests, that dramatically changed. Because those who came from the outside came looking for some of the things that we had here. They also came looking for even ourselves to use us for their own welfare betterment, to employ our, that's how slavery, you know, thrived.
So they looked for our resources and us.
Yes, they looked for our human energy and also for what resources we had here. And you know, I had talked in the previous program about how people started living in communities and forming management teams. That it was originally primarily for the security, protection, for the protection of communities. You know that because the rival communities, even before the foreigners from far came, even here rival communities would attack others and take away their property, even take away people, take away, you know, especially women. And take them for, you know, to employ them and
to work in their countries.
Yes. So rivalry between communities caused people to protect themselves, to create defense systems.
Okay.
And we had managed within our own communities in Africa to largely protect ourselves and live in our communities fairly stably. But when the foreigners came, they came with greater capacity to subdue our defenses.
Whichever force they would.
Yes, because they had developed a greater technology.
Okay.
We were using spears and
bows and arrows.
and maybe some pangas and clubs and things like that, which all would had very limited capacity. You know, if it's an arrow, you know, you would only carry a few arrows, and you know, you
shot one at a go.
yes, and then technology came and it subdued our people.
Okay.
And having been defeated, you see, then those who defeated our communities had total control over ourselves and what.
Enslaved then.
Yes, so we were.
Our resources.
So we were enslaved, and our resources were
Plundered.
were open to being taken as those who had defeated us wished, and that you know opened what is now very clearly known as a very troublesome period of you know the ravaging of the African continent generally through slavery and through plunder of resources. And in our case here, that went on the direct, you know, of course this went on for centuries, but the direct control now, when people came and established full-time control over us, lasted for about 70 years. And so the disequilibrium that we face now between Africa and Europe, for example, and America, has a direct correlation with that. You know, having centuries of plunder.
Centuries of plunder.
Yes,
Taking
plunder.
our resources.
Taking
Enriching the other
not
countries.
just resources, but even human beings. And the human beings, remember, who were being taken were the strongest,
able men,
the most able. You know, they were built. They you know, who were also clearly the intelligent ones and so on. So the riffraffs.
They were the ones that were left.
They are ourselves who are. We are
we
are the leftovers.
So the strong were taken.
And that's why, you know, it's a problem, because we start from that deep, you know, low level. Intellectually, we are the weakest. Genetically, you know, we are the weakest.
That's what was left in Africa.
Yes, yes. So now, but nonetheless,
okay.
We and this talking about that plunder and ravaging of our continent, we should never lose sight of the need to have a discussion with those who plundered.
It's necessary.
Yes, with a view to having reparations. Because clearly, I think everybody now concedes that it was criminal, that it was unjust, and so I think once that recognition is there, it must be followed by redress.
I saw the other time Brother Malema up in arms when the Queen died, and he was like, we don't even need to mourn.
Yes, I mean, people will go to all kinds of extents, but what I'm talking about is simply what created our weakness,
Okay.
what created
Their strength.
their strength, and now that we have created a world community, we all sit in the United Nations,
Okay.
we share a lot of things together. And it's now recognized that what happens here affects them, and what happens there affects us. So living on the same globe, we must now talk about that troublesome period,
Okay.
and how we reestablish balance, so that some of the things that
Are
were
returned.
are returned, and we try to, because if we don't establish balance, the reality also is that it will boomerang.
To flip the other
Or
side.
it will boomerang onto them, which is already happening, because you can see all these dangerous diseases are coming from here.
And they affect them.
Yes, Ebola, I don't know what, and when we get them,
Definitely we take.
the whole world is affected. So I think in everybody's interest that all humanity
Okay.
has a decent level of living, and if one community loaded it onto others, I think there is a need to have some kind of restorative justice. So we want to know where this pain that is in our people came
Yes,
from.
Yes.
Those are the roots of injustice, of some people using force to dominate others and exploit them. That is the root cause of what is here today.
Frustration.
So first of all, we were dominated and exploited by foreigners. But foreigners left, it's now in our case 60 years. But in
Should we
this,
still complain?
yes,
about them?
So no, we cannot. I'm saying save for that.
Okay.
But the problem is now ours here. Started by them. It should not skip our mind.
Okay.
But
We can't
that is
keep
now
in
in the
application.
history. The question is now, what perpetuated it? So
it was perpetuated.
So, in spite of the foreign domination ending, we have remained with a system of domination. And this is how this system of domination has continued. So, first of all, that domination for centuries,
Okay.
which happened, which weakened our societies, left a different mindset amongst us, a mindset of slaves, a mindset of servants of others,
Beggars.
not a mindset of citizens who own their countries. So although those who dominated us left, they left a people with a dominated mind. Now, these people with a dominated mind who are ourselves at independence
Okay.
did not know how to cause the new leaders to become their servants. In fact, the whole concept of people being masters was not there. So they thought that whoever is a leader is their master
And we are slave.
and you are their servant.
So a relationship is
So
master
yes,
slave.
master slave or master servant.
Master servant.
That relationship was not in the mind. In other words, the minds were not liberated. from that relationship. So you still expected to that taking away your wealth is perfectly understandable. It's normal. That's what governments do. And not giving you anything is also normal.
okay.
Or whatever they give you is a
Decide
give.
for what to give you.
Yes.
Okay.
So that colonized mind has continued. That is one of the things. Secondly, is that the new leaders now who took over after the colonial government were also peasants.
Peasants.
Yes, they were also coming from peasantry. Their minds were the same as those who had been. They were just an inch away, except that for them, the colonizer had given them some training.
Okay.
But their minds, and the mind of an ordinary peasant, is selfish. Also, that this should be understood. You know, that's why.
The mind of a peasant is selfish.
Yes, yes, that's why, you know, if you are in the village,
Okay.
and your garden is doing very well, the night dancers will come.
To bewitch your garden.
Yes, so if you have, you know, good animals and the other ones, they that's why there is witchcraft amongst them, because they don't see that, you know, if you are aware of,
Okay.
it is good for
It's
them.
good for us as well.
No, they can't, and
If it is known to me, then no one else.
yes, yes, and so we had these, you know, witches also of sorts. Now, with the power.
So a wizard now has power. You can now imagine.
So the selfishness of the leaders should be understood also as being a carry forward of this peasant who finds himself.
Now in
Yes,
leadership.
yes, who grew up hungry, you know. He has never gone to bed satisfied. So
when
now,
he gets
now
into-
yes, and so the kind of greed
Okay.
that we have seen, and lack of any concept of public good, you know,
Okay.
is cultural also. It's
From the colonialists.
it's,
who carried it on.
yes, you see, the children of even these peasant leaders, they have a different culture from them. Because for them, they have grown up now when when good food
Okay.
and you know, going to school and so on
It's normal.
is taken for granted.
So they have now a different culture.
Yes, they
So
absolutely.
they don't have that peasant
Yes,
mentality.
yes, of being vengeful, of being, you know, you know. So that has been a problem also.
Okay.
That, you know, since independence, people who come into leadership are those peasants.
So, Doctor, nothing has ever changed. All the regimes we keep on having, we still carry it on.
Yeah, but that it's not, you know, 60 years are also not very long. Because, as I have said, the greatest majority of the population
Okay.
has remained where it was. You know, they are still servants of some master, you know,
Okay.
and terrorized, living in fear of the state.
In fear of the state.
Yes, that's the mind. And even glorify that fear. You know, that's why in our languages, you find sayings that in the home of the cowards, they are laughing. In the home of the brave, they are crying.
They are crying.
In other words, be comfortable as a coward.
Don't,
Because,
don't dare be brave.
because you will live long. In fact, they say cowards
Live long.
you will live longer. So it's all right. You know, even if somebody is stepping on your head, be patient. Sooner or later he will go. Don't
So if you want to live longer, be a coward.
don't disturb.
Okay.
So so we have two problems.
Okay.
One, the mentality of the slave.
The slave mentality.
Yes, which continues of being terrorized, you know, fearful of authority, you know, being considering that you have no rights. The master is the one who decides. So that has perpetuated
Okay.
what was there before under the foreign domination. So domination goes with exploitation. In other words, the exploitation has actually worsened.
In our time, when we are living.
Yes, because previously the Bazungu
Okay.
were not witch doctors. They were not as greedy.
You said
you know,
we now have witch doctors in power.
Yes, witch doctors. You know, people who are so hungry, and you know, who want to grab
whichever they find.
So the Bazungu were of a different culture.
Okay.
Ours, we will now go to these very hungry, you know, the people peasants now to have power. So they have been more exploitative, you know, stealing even what is not needed. You know,
They simply grab whichever
yes,
they find.
yes.
Even what they don't
And
need.
what steal, they steal and take it, hide it, where the Bazungu were also taking. So they have continued the injustice between Africa
Okay.
and the countries that dominated us. And so that exploitation,
Okay.
if it is not stopped and reversed, what we are seeing will not change. So people pay taxes
Okay.
every day. Whatever you buy, a lot of tax.
Okay.
What they call VAT, I don't know what, you
A
know.
lot of tax.
Yes. So whatever you buy, you are paying to the government. You have no say about it.
About how they use it.
What they charge you.
For sure. First of all,
Yes.
you have no say on what they
Yes,
charge.
they have no say on what they charge you.
So you can't even determine what they use it for.
You have no say on what they use it for. So they take, nothing comes back. And this is why previously we were talking about, you know, really not, a group like that does not fit the bill of being a government. Because they don't serve the common good. They don't do for the population those things that each person cannot do for themselves, which is the work of government. The work of government should be to provide common goods and services, which ordinary people on their own, as families, as what, cannot provide.
Okay.
The work of government is not to distribute money no. The work of government is to provide common goods and common services, public goods and public services. That's the work of government. So to provide security, to provide education, to provide communication and infrastructure and things. That's the work of government. Not to come and you know, produce for the farmer or whatever, or try to, even all these seeds and what those farmers can do. You can not only provide guidance and so on, but those in an individual can do it for themselves. The focus of government should be to do what the individual is not able to do, which requires common effort and common inputs, accumulated inputs from all to give. You know, like nobody will make a road for themselves. Nobody will make a railway line for themselves. Nobody will make a hospital for themselves. Nobody will create a university and teach people and so on. Build knowledge within the community, like I explained in the Uganda program last week. So it's
so we are still continuing with
so
that
the
survival mentality.
the exploitative, taking away no return. So people pay all forms of taxes, they don't get services back. If you want to get education, you still have to pay. If you want to get health, you still have to pay. If you want to even go on the road is so bad, you have to pay double the price because of the type of road on which the commuter vehicle is passing, and so on and so forth. So that's what continues to weaken. So you are paying tax and you are also paying for your services. So growing poorer and poorer every day. Yet those who are taking your taxes are not even paying taxes actually themselves. They're just
taking the tax.
They are just taking and that's what they call it. They say there is development. So they take, they build, some skyscraper. They build.
They are owned by.
They build malls and they say there is a development. But there is a development built on underdeveloping others, built on the destruction of others. And this is what I said, that over time it creates conflict. Because I see you, and quite often the ones who dominate have come from the same villages as the people they are dominating.
So they know.
Yes, they know. Like these Mr. Museveni and his group. We came together from the bush the other day. We all know what was in the Kaguta family.
Now you see what he has become.
We know that he has not gotten he has not invented a computer like Bill Gates. He has not done anything. But now he claims to be the richest person. So the people who were looking at him
in the village,
they say, so that's the starting of the conflict. And the trouble is that once people have now become used to just extracting and feeling their greed and all kinds of other extravagant behaviors they may develop, they keep on. They keep on. In fact,
they enjoy it.
The need to accumulate increases even as they take.
So we should expect to be exploited more.
Yes, because and that's what. So when they travel and see
other buildings,
yes, they see somebody has an even greater jet
like,
than no, I can no longer have this one. I want a new jet for myself, like I saw. So the appetite continues. They want to also build all kinds of things for themselves, and in the meantime, the people on the other side are going down and down and down until you reach the situation where we are now,
Okay.
where people can no longer have anything even to extract. You have extracted everything up to the bone marrow. You know, you have eaten the beef, what, you know, has all been taken. People have remained until, you know, the bones, you know. So that's where now Ugandans literally are. They have nothing to.
That's where Ugandans literally are, and we are here to share alternative views on how Ugandans perhaps can get from that sorrow state that Doctor has taken off a lot of time to explain, and we really need to get out of that sorrow state. Doctor, haven't we reached to a point where we need to rise up?
Yes, so as I have said, this economic crisis, this social crisis of people having no health care, no education, no sanitation, you know, this social and economic crisis, even environmental crisis, which is evident everywhere, people being killed by floods, people being killed by hunger at the same time from drought. People being, you know, all this crisis starts with a political crisis. The fact of having a country that is not ours, living in a country in which we are just slaves. That must be solved. Because how we produce and who benefits from our labor is determined by politics. And that's why, you know, it's so sad, even annoying, when you hear somebody seemingly educated, but he says, you are bringing politics now into this thing. We don't want politics here. See, how will you avoid politics to solve the crisis of the country? You know?
So it's a political question that needs to be sorted.
Fundamentally a political question. The economic, social, environmental, cultural problems that we have emanate from the political problem of domination. People, the would-be citizens, being deprived of their participation in the governance of the country, in the control and the use of the resources in the country, you know. So, you know, there has been, of course, a debate about, you know, oil, about this. But you imagine, you know, Uganda has been producing all kinds of things that we export. We were, I think, the 6th coffee exporting country in the world. And you remember how coffee made people rich in the late colonial period and the early post-independence period. You know? So it's possible to become rich from your production. But now people continue to work hard but become poorer. Money made from coffee is used to benefit others who don't produce, actually.
For them, they don't produce.
No, but they are the ones who transact and get the lion's share.
Oh, they say they have big gardens. And...
You had Mr. Museveni recently saying he found this Italian woman who did not know anything about coffee. And he trusted her to come and take away our coffee. Now, the coffee farmers are not involved in all that. But we have a situation where Penetti and his local, partners, the Musevenis are going to enjoy the coffee money while the coffee farmers.
They are going to enjoy our money.
Yes, of course. So the thing is that the poverty, the lack of services, the mismanagement of the environment and so on that we are suffering has its origins in people not having a voice, not having a say, not sharing opportunities equally. You know, if you have a situation, there was even this week, a company, I think it was called SMS Construction. I saw the letter of Mr. Museveni directing the Prime Minister and all the other leaders in the government that he had met the directors of this company who have convinced him that they have a lot of capacity in a construction, that they had constructed a hotel and I don't know had constructed what. And they are Uganda, he said they are Ugandans who have constructed all these. Therefore, I am now directing you,
the Prime Minister.
yes, and all the people in the government, to give the government contracts for construction to this company. And even mentioned those, yes, which they should start with. Yes, this. Even put in NSSF as although NSSF is money for workers, but he does not recognize that. He said, NSSF what? Or should go to SMS. Now, SMS obviously may be owned by Ugandans or whatever, but what about we who pay taxes, who may want to also construct?
We haven't got a chance to meet you.
We have no chance of meeting Mr. Museveni.
So we don't have a right to
So this is the whole thing, where people have no equal opportunities. Where they have no equal rights, where they have no equal access to even knowledge, so now children of the poor cannot have education. If you cannot have education, you will not have a good job.
Definitely.
You will not have even capacity to do anything because you have no knowledge, or you are even farming or what, you have no knowledge. So that is the perpetuation of the situation. And the correction of it, therefore, must start where the perpetuation, where the origins and the perpetuation come from. Politics.
It is politics.
Yes, politics started this, the domination. Politics must start the reversal of it. In other words, this happened because people have no voice and because they are dominated by force. This will change when people have voices and when they have overcome domination. So when you cannot take away their money without their say, they are the ones who say, no, this tax is too high. We will not pay that tax. And that happens. That happens. We now want our money to be used to construct hospitals here, not to pay for buying fighter jets. Our money must come and build schools here, technical schools all over the place. So once the people have the say,
Okay.
and they direct their resources to serve their interests,
Okay.
then you start addressing this. And in Uganda, fortunately, it shouldn't take long for things to change. Because as I have told you, it's easy to produce.
Okay.
For example, if people produced coffee and benefited from it maximally,
As the people.
yes. What is now going to all these middlemen, if it was cut out,
Okay.
which it can, so that because people the coffee producers can cooperatively
Okay.
process their own coffee without involvement of anybody else. They are just facilitated here and there by policy. They create their capacity, as it happened in the past when people thrived from coffee.
Okay.
They used cooperatives to process the coffee, to get their own markets and to get it to the markets. They can now take it even a bit further and do what Mr. Museveni was talking about with these foreigners, that they will add value. Why can't Ugandans add their own value? Why must it be foreigners to add value for us? They can just wait there in the market and we will take it to their market. So it's possible in Uganda, once the people have power, once the policies are in the right policies are the ones that they are making for their own interest, it's very, very easy to turn things around. Because, even this money they have been now drumming people about, that parish model.
Government model.
Parish model is absolute nonsense, because all the money comes from the parish anyway.
It comes from the parish.
Yeah, there is no money that does not come from the parish. There is no money elsewhere which did not come from. So instead of spending so much money, first of all, to collect it from them, and you take it and then
Recycle
and then get workers to bring it back, and of course you've been seeing how much is lost on the way.
Yes, it keeps
There are
reducing.
this, now they are hunting for them who took the punishment. But so if you wanted people to have that money, why did you take it away from them?
So you should leave that money to the parish.
Yes, you can just reduce the tax.
Okay.
So,
And you don't need to give to people.
no,
Just reduce the tax.
so that they
So
stay
that they
with their
can
money.
stay with their
and,
money.
and people will always know what to do with their money anyway. They don't need your advice.
Hey.
Or if you want to give them advice, you can give them advice, but when they have they worked for it in the first place, they produced it.
We thought the
So-
parish
so-
model is the key now.
So all this is just because they use people's ignorance, and they want to go and confuse them. But the starting point, the most important point that I'd like to make on this
Okay.
is that it starts with people becoming in charge.
Okay.
When people have their voice and when they determine what happens to their wealth,
Okay.
when they have power over their wealth, that's when things will change for them.
Okay.
And in our country, making the wealth is very, very easy. Unlike many other countries where people live in deserts, here everybody can produce, literally. Anybody can produce. And therefore anybody can become wealthy. If the policies are right, if the common goods
Okay.
are taken care of by those who should take care of them, that you are not, whatever you are producing, you are not again going to pay for medicine, you are not going to suffer with the school fees, with the what, People will become wealthy overnight here because we live in, as I pointed out some time back, we live in a country that is teeming with wealth. Wealth is everywhere. It's just that we are too dominated to take advantage of our own wealth.
Wow, wow, wow. Uganda's wealth should really benefit each and every one of us. Recently and some years back, someone came out and bragged about his oil. And a few days ago, the EU Parliament came out and they passed a resolution to stop perhaps the construction of the crude oil, the East African crude oil pipeline. When we return after this short break, Doctor is going to give us his take on such a decision that was taken in the EU Parliament, whether it's not interference perhaps into our politics and how he views it. Let us break off and come back. Please don't leave. Let's stay here.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Migrant stakeholders run biya birimu ebiri emisinde gigenda okubeera ku ssaawa ekkololo ku Sande nga 2 October. Tudduka okusonda ssente okuddaabiriza ekifo ekibudabuda bankuba kyeyo nga bakomyewo. Eddembe lya bannayuganda bakolebwe buvunaanyizibwa bwaffe era kitukakatako okulwanirira eddembe n'obwenkanya mu mirimu gy'abankuba kyeyo. N'olwekyo weetabe mu kuddaabiriza ekifo kino ng'ogula kiti ya $2.5 okuva ku petrol station za Shell Kabalagala, Shell Lugogo, Capital, Shell Najjanankumbi, Shell Nansana, Shell Namambe ne Shell Buloba. Biwagidwa Star Times, Reham, Fresh Dairy, Roofings, Housing Finance Bank, Maritime Cargo. Olwo ne bikutusibako ofisi ya President ku nsonga z'emitala w'amayanja, UERA ne Migrant Workers Voice. Ne bitegekebwa Sinat Advertising.
Hello, beautiful people. You're welcome to the Snap Talk with your girl Teddy Tenjo every Saturday, right from 6 to 7.
It is your responsibility. Omwana wo kubeera mu nyumba nga teyasuze bweru mbo bamubanja rent. Koyo kulaba abalenzi abasajja abakunga. Mutuufu tebabuulirirwa nga babulamu.
Towerabira nti tuli wano ku the Alternative Dig Talk. Mukwano gwange gwali topic ki wandiyagadde twogereko. Is it about family?
You can take your time, look for a job, stabilize, men will come. Men will always be there. You will get the men. Bonna goyagala musajja yenna goyagala ojja mufuna.
Embaga ketuuke. Bino bitu byasenga na ojja bafuna.
Naye ng'oli asitudde tuyakedde ku macabaga nti nsitudde naye nga mutuufu agambye nti akyali muto.
Is it outside family? Is it society? Oh, could it be relationships? Just be commenting a topic yona gyandiyagadde twogereko tujjako tujogera kwano ku the Alternative Dig Talk ku share enganzi the Snap Talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Besigye.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digital.
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here, Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
How are you beautiful Ugandans? It's your girl Teddy Tenjo. Welcome to the fancy floor. Who doesn't see my hair, guys? I am super glamorous. Remember, this is the only show where we're going to be talking about fashion.
Please, where are you think? Teaching.
What has been confusing you about fashion? You said I should not smile. For all the information about fashion, maintenance of body shape,
I can wear bling bling when I'm going out. So you can wear bling bling going out or any occasion.
we shall be doing all this in the fancy floor. Remember, it airs every Thursday right from 8:30 to 9 with your girl, Teddy Tenjo. It is the fancy floor.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
We'll be back from that short break, and we really encourage you to keep following, to keep commenting, to keep sending in your comments. We really apologize that we will not be able to have our phone calls due to some technical problems that we are sorting out. But please keep sending in your questions, keep sending in your comments. We shall keep reading them. We shall keep addressing them to Doctor, and he will be responding to them as need arises. Doctor, there is someone by the names of Rogers. He says, but even the economically liberated have been known to be dangerously selfish, which is why we now have the rich being extremely rich and the poor chronically poor. So who should be directing who? He also continues to say, if he was in government, would he provide all those services free of charge? Take like education, health care, and so on and so forth. He is also requesting us to get into the issue of oil, and that's the issue that we are getting into. Yes, Doctor, let's first perhaps respond to this and we continue.
Yes, first of all, I think it should be very clear that the reason we want accountable governments is that leaders should not do good only because they believe that it is a good thing to do good. What I mean is, we should not leave it to the good-naturedness of leaders to serve us well.
Even if they are not good.
Even if they are not good, they must be compelled to serve us well, and if they don't, they must be removed from leadership. So that's the basis of an accountable government. It's like any servant. If I come to work for you in your home, you will interview me, and that's what happens in campaigns for political offices. The population is interviewing you through the campaign. You are saying, I'm capable of doing this. I did it before here, there, I have experience, I did this. And people choose whom they can trust to give a job. But they should not rely on you now and your goodness in order to do that job. They must supervise you and ensure that you do what you said you are able to do. And if you are not doing so, there should be consequences. So the point I made earlier of the cultural challenge of our leaders does not mean that, if we have leaders who are of a better leadership culture, if for lack of a better word, in other words, who have not entered office as witch doctors and as witches, not witch, and dying of hunger, which is historical and
now reached
yes, people who have been brought up decent, having good schools, not threatened with the lack of fees, that they have grown up in insecure circumstances. People who have grown up, which is what all children all children should grow up in conditions of security. Social security. They should not be threatened with being thrown out of the home because they have not paid rent.
They are thrown out of home. Even at school, they are always being chased.
They are being chased out of classes. They are not sure whether they will have food at home, so they are wandering in the neighbors' places at meal times.
What a life!
where they can have something in their stomachs. Though, if somebody is coming from that background and lands in an office, a public office, you are likely to have more trouble from that person than one who grow up under conditions of security.
That's why have many troubles.
That's the point. That's the point I was simply making. But it's no guarantee that somebody who has grown in security will not behave that way. In any case, genetics take a long time to change. If somebody has been living in insecurity for generations, just one change of one change of a generation where you now grow up in security will not immunize you from all those. But this, so the point is, yes, the people who took over after independence were all these witches and insecure people and people who now arrived at a point where they could eat themselves until they burst, So there is that perspective. But it is not to say that if there is no supervision, anybody can. Man is inherently selfish, you see. There is an inherent element, an inborn element of looking at yourself.
I think it's okay at a certain percentage.
Yes. So if you don't have supervision, if you don't have consequences for deviating, then people will do this and see that nothing happens. They will do bigger and you'll get into the similar trouble. So it should. I'm just responding to that person who asked. The idea is not simply to have good or better people in office. It's to do both. It's to have better people, but also to have the necessary checks and balances to make sure that they do the will of the people, and if they don't, that people have the power to remove them. So people must do good knowing if they don't, there are consequences. And
the other question was about if at all you are in government, would all these services be free, like education, health, and
yes, and you see, I've told you about public goods. It's a question of priorities, you see, because even now the money that is there, which we are spending in areas that are certainly not in the public interest or public good. I'm sure you've heard that each year, about 1 trillion shillings is stolen. 1 trillion, just stolen.
And yet it was borrowed.
That is 1,000 billion, which is sorted away. So if that is not stolen, how many hospitals would it build? Or how much drugs would it produce? Now, what is not stolen is misused. You see, we have a budget now when we are not paying salaries, even now. We are not paying teachers, we are not paying doctors, we are not, because there is no money. But every day, the money for State House has not been, has not failed to go. Nearly 2 billion.
Every day.
Which is eaten by one family. That one has not failed to go. You see? Okay. So the question is not whether it's possible or not.
It's the priorities.
The question is the priorities.
Okay.
And secondly, even where there was no possibility to do all at a go, because the people themselves are the ones in charge.
Okay.
They are the ones
To
determining, you know,
Begin
this
with
one
health.
goes there,
Begin
this one
with education.
yes,
Begin
and
with
yes,
this.
and
Okay.
and if they think, oh, okay, let's now for here, let's also on top of what they are doing, let's also from our own coffee bring something. That there is no problem. But we must. The point I made earlier is that education is so important in the growth and development of the country that everything must be done to make it publicly and freely available. Everything, literally everything, must be done to make it publicly and freely available. And, you know, as I have said, Uganda is one of the richest countries on the globe. Much poorer countries are doing it. Why can't we do it? It is simply the poverty of the mind that limits us. Say, those things are difficult.
We can't have free education
because you are just constrained. You know, you are just constrained in your mind, very, very limited, and that is part of what afflicts us here. We don't think big.
Okay.
We don't consider big ideas and get on to transform them into reality. We think everything is difficult. That's why even when you say we will get rid of these people with their guns, they say, how is that possible? You know, they are resigned, they think it's, you even tell them, but your grandparents, your grandparents chased away even stronger one. But, so that is, yeah, you were...
Yes, Doctor. The issue of the European Union Parliament. They came out and passed a resolution, and this resolution is to stop the construction of the crude oil pipeline.
Yes.
One of the reasons that they give is that there are a lot of human rights violations, that over 100,000 people are going to be displaced, and actually are displaced, and these people are not compensated. They are being pushed away from their settlements, and then there is a question of the long stay of the leader here in Uganda, and all that they ended up resolving, and it's raising a lot of issues here.
So there are, I think, problems that are related to the exploitation of oil resource in Uganda.
Okay.
And they are of two types, but they are interrelated. The first problem is the one to do with environment.
Okay.
And the problems there are understandable some countries in Africa have had environmental disasters, like, you know, in the Delta region of Nigeria.
Okay.
We've had a real disaster from oil spills and so on. So the environmental concerns are some of the problems that have been raised, because this one now, the pipeline has 1,400 kilometers, more than 1,400 kilometers. So the vulnerability is big. And so there are many people with concerns over that. And also where it passes, you know, in natural, maybe parks, you know, reserves, animal reserves, and forest reserves, and, you know, so matters dealing with the environment. That is one. And for the Europeans, I think that is where they have the biggest concern. Now, those concerns are real, and we need to take them into account, but they are mitigatable. They can be managed. And whoever produces oil manages them, has a responsibility to manage them.
Yes.
So it's like there is no good thing that does not have side effects. You know, you have, if you want to treat malaria, you take malaria pills, but they may cause you to scratch. So the question is,
to take them.
You treat malaria, you take the medicine, and you look for what to
help you
with not scratch. You know, so even the environmental problems can be managed. But in order to manage the environmental problems sustainably, then comes the second problem, governance.
Governance question.
The governance question. So I said there are two problems, environmental and governance. Now, governance, just like I was talking about the poverty and politics, governance, if governance is wrong, then you have no chance of managing the environmental issues. Because you'll have people who are corrupt. Instead of doing what they need to do to mitigate the problems of environment, they will take money and they want to do it, and you'll have a disaster. So once you have governance issues, then controlling the environmental problems becomes a problem. Even when you say, let's carry out a study, an environment
impact
assessment. The one who is looking at it is just looking for money.
The one who is doing it.
The one who is doing it is just looking for money. The one who is reading it is thinking of how much he's taking home.
The one supervising.
So the bigger problem is governance. And so whereas the Europeans have mainly issues with the environment, because the environment also impacts them directly. And that's why their concern is because they have already destroyed their own environment. They are now depending on ours.
Our environment.
So they are now concerned that we may also spoil where they may have to run to. So yes, I hear them. The environment is also good for me, but they have to understand that the bigger problem in our case is governance. Because it is governance that will actually make the impact of the oil on the environment much greater and riskier. Secondly, you see, I told you that Uganda already is in a very serious crisis of divided society, where for now decades some have been extracting from the others. So you have those who are very desperate and those who are very comfortable. Now, these ones who are very comfortable, who are in charge of the country by force, are, as you said a little earlier, they are the owners of the oil. They now see themselves
Their oil.
as they see the oil as their oil. So they are there salivating, waiting for
For a drop of their oil.
for their oil to start, chewing on their oil. Now, if therefore oil flows when people have no voice, it is going to flow only into the stomachs
To enrich
of the ones who have control of the country. And we now give them even greater capacity, because I told you that now they are in trouble because they have been extracting from these people until there is nothing to
now
extract.
to extract.
So now
there
is a possibility of examining what can we do, because they cannot pay salaries, they cannot do this, even of the soldiers who control these servants they extract from. So now that possibility of saying, so now what do we do? There is no more money to pay for soldiers, for this, so can we change the model? And for people to have more voice, therefore, of saying, no, we must now manage this differently. When oil money now comes to them, they can now pay the soldiers without needing anymore to look at these starving people.
They have already starved.
Yes, they have already sacked everything from them. They can now get the oil money, pay the soldiers to make sure that they keep these ones until they die in peace. But now because these people are also seeing that money is coming from the oil, they are also going to die in peace. So actually, you end up having a war when oil flows.
Hey.
This is what happened
It become a curse for us.
Yes, in Mozambique, just here. In Mozambique, in fact, in Mozambique, it is Total again. Total, which was exploiting oil in Mozambique. And war broke out. It is still raging there. And Total had to tie up their things and go. So it can intensify the contradictions, this divide can actually get worse, and you will find that even the pipeline will be, unless they put soldiers to guard it from Hoima up all the way to people will be breaking it to get oil out of it, and it's happening elsewhere, So we need to solve the governance issues before that oil comes. First of all, to ensure that there is proper use of the oil money to benefit all Ugandans. But secondly, so that we have a competent, accountable government that can oversee the environmental concerns of the oil that they are managed properly.
So, Doctor, you were saying that in the current government that we are having, the oil should wait.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there is no, in fact, we are, even before this discussion happened in the European Parliament, we as the PFT, as the People's Front for Transition, together with some non-governmental organizations, have been discussing this matter.
Sure.
And we are soon going to have a public event to discuss this matter, to present facts and figures.
Our oil.
Yes, about oil and the related subjects to the oil, so that the country can make a decision on an informed basis. Because now you see these thieves and the terrorists in the government who are holding the country hostage by force, and who therefore have captured all institutions, they are now using the captured institutions to create the impression that, you know, if oil comes, everything, all your problems are going to end, you know, so that
by the first drop.
Yes, so that people can support them to quickly access, to borrow more money to work on the oil, and of course people want to benefit. Because, you know, let me tell you, we are not going to be the first African country to produce oil. There are many countries in Africa producing oil. And literally in every country where there is that oil, there is a curse.
There is a curse.
Yes. Trouble. And people have not benefited. I've told you about the war in Mozambique. Elsewhere, people have not benefited. You know, Nigeria has been exporting oil. And huge, huge sums of oil, not the little oil that Uganda hopes to export. Uganda has very, very little oil, actually. Maybe the confirmed resource is about 3 billion barrels. So it's nothing, you know. The Nigerians have about 80 billion. So we are just nothing. Angola has been exporting oil. In fact, Angola in Africa now is #1. It's ahead of Nigeria. You know, and then you have, of course, the Algeria, Libya, Egypt, which are in North Africa. But here in the south, you also have Cameroon, is an oil exporter. Congo, the Republic of Congo, is an oil exporter. The Chad, Gabon, you have. Tell me what benefit has happened there, and why hasn't it happened? Instead, what happens is that the thieves, the terrible people controlling those countries stay forever, because they no longer need people even now when they have already exploited them to the ground, like has happened here. They no longer need them. They can now get this oil money and pay soldiers. So you have a country like Equatorial Guinea. Their leader, Teodoro Obiang Nguema, has been in office for now 43 years.
43.
Yes, he is guarded by UPDF.
Uganda.
Yes, oil money paying for people to protect him in power. His son is the vice president. And just a playboy.
Just a playboy.
Yes, you know, he's the one who had all these very expensive vehicles in Europe, which were captured recently because they said, where did you get this from? You know, that's the vice president squandering Equatorial Guinea money.
Oil.
Yes, buying all kinds of things. He had bought another thing in the US, I think, I don't know for how many billions, you know, so that is the oil money we are talking about, you know. Gabon, Gabon, as you know, there was Bongo, Umar Bongo, led Gabon for about 40 years or so. He died while president. His son is still in office, taking the oil. Gabonese, in the meantime, they are as poor as our people here.
Okay.
So you heard what happened. You heard what happened in Angola. The daughter of Dos Santos is now one of the richest people on earth. You know, oil, Angolan oil. So what will stop? We already have those people here. You know, those sharks. You can name them now here. You know, so why should we hurry to hand them over the oil? And if people can help us not to give them money.
That's the call you are making.
Yes, absolutely. Until we sort ourselves out. Absolutely.
Doctor, isn't that being seen now? Because we have a comment here. He's saying, isn't EU's involvement in Ugandan affairs interfering with the sovereignty of the country?
You see, that is absolute nonsense. First of all, as I have said, on the points that EU is raising, they are not points that are limited by sovereignty. Environment is not limited by sovereignty. And we are signatories to international conventions on the protection of environment and the climate.
Okay.
So they have a legitimate locus point from which to raise their concerns.
Okay.
But let's talk about even interference. When they are bringing money here to support things that some of us think should not be supported, including credit, which they give to these thieves, well knowing that they are thieves, well knowing that the people of Uganda don't have a say, but they bring money and give it to them. Why don't they say you are interfering with
our economy?
with our economy? So that is trash. That is trash. But secondly, whatever they think should have nothing to do with the need for us to have a voice.
Okay.
In fact, they don't emphasize that.
They should emphasize that.
No, they don't need to. We ourselves here should emphasize it ourselves because it is us. Okay. It's not for them, you know. We don't want this oil for this one or that one, which for the stability, for the development of Uganda.
Okay.
And we must. So if the position we are raising simply resonates with theirs, nobody should blame them.
Okay.
Because we have, if anybody was saying we don't have a corrupt regime, if anybody was saying we don't have, we have the rule of the law.
We have the rule of law.
You know, here, if somebody was saying that, we have rule of law, no, you know, no, we don't take black mambas to attack courts.
To even attack parliament.
To attack parliament, or to, you know, if somebody was saying that, yes, then I would listen to them, you know. But if you don't have the rule of law,
okay,
you don't observe human rights, you know. People are rotting in prisons all over the place for no reason at all. We have not been to court, for have not been one, you know. because simply they oppose you, or they have a different view. That is the government we are talking about, where you have corruption from the top to the bottom, as the system of government,
The lowest leader.
Yes, where you cannot have free and fair elections so that people
Can choose.
can determine how they are governed and who governs them. Any election is like a war front. As long as these exist, then this is not a government of the people of Uganda. And so who should be negotiating? Even now, the oil contracts.
Okay.
How many Ugandans know
What is in the oil contract?
what is in the oil contracts?
With Total.
So what are you defending? Even what? Tell me what you are defending. You don't even know what was negotiated. Which is so. This oil has been there in the ground for a long time.
Okay.
It should stay there until we sort out
The governance question.
governance questions here. Once we have good governance, we will be able to mitigate environmental issues, and then we can exploit those resources in a manner that will benefit all of us, and the country will grow.
So, Doctor, you are saying that EU should not even just stop on the pipeline, but it should go on to emphasize the issue of the exploration of this oil.
No, you see, I am simply saying that the voices being raised in the EU simply coincide with our voices. I'm not saying we should depend on them
Okay.
to determine what goes on here. No. I am very, very defensive
Okay.
in terms of our sovereignty.
Okay.
But I recognize that where people hold views that are in line with our own views and interests,
Okay.
then we should applaud them
Okay.
for holding those views. And we should work together to make sure that our interests are indeed observed. Yeah.
So, Doctor, the issue of the pipeline, would it be perhaps we give up on the issue of the pipeline and then concentrate on a refinery here? Would that be the best option?
Well, first of all, like I have said, when you say what is better, what is not better, I think we will do better to address this matter. It's a big matter. We will do well to address it in a more systematic and comprehensive way.
Okay.
In a program outside just a discussion of this and other issues together.
Okay.
And as I have promised, we are considering having a national dialogue on this, so that all views can come on the table and we discuss them.
Okay.
We discuss them. Those who think we should just carry on as things are. Those who think we should maybe only have a refinery. Those who think we should have none for the time being. We can discuss all these together, because again, exploiting these resources, whether it is a refinery or whatever, we are going to borrow money as a country. We are going to increase the injustice in the country, regardless of whether we are doing this or the other.
Okay.
And in the end, this will simply increase the conflict in the country and possibly degenerate into violence. So these are matters we need to approach cautiously.
Okay.
And viewing and looking at, we are nothing is subjective here. We are looking at empirical evidence regarding the rule of law, empirical evidence, corruption, empirical evidence, whether it's electoral processes and therefore people's voices and control over their resources and so on. We are looking at reality, not something in the air.
We've already tested it.
Yes, and these are all things that can change, and we should be able to change them. Why should you avoid changing what is critical? Simply rush to go and get our resources. And of course, we are only helped in this, that they have no money or capacity to get the oil out. If they had, this conversation would not be going on. I mean, it's like gold. They are taking gold.
They're taking gold, yes.
Worth about $2 billion every year. Yes, $2 billion.
Enriching themselves.
Coffee brings in about 500 million, 600 million. They are getting 2 billion from gold. They are not even paying taxes. They are not. So why should we add oil onto the
gold?
Onto the gold, So we need to first resolve the governance issues.
Okay.
Not just for the purpose of the gold, but like I told you, even if we had no gold, in order to develop this country sustainably, we need a different form of governance, not domination. Domination is inherently unsustainable. And that's why it has now hit real turbulence. Of course, there is a lot of effort everywhere to say that the problems we have are from COVID. Very laughable. It's COVID and the war in Russia, which started 6 months ago.
The war in Russia,
the problem is the war in Russia. The problem is no.
What is our problem?
Absolutely not. Domination. This is what I'm saying. Before COVID, weren't we selling people in slavery in the Arab countries? We were, were there jobs here? Nothing. Was education accessible before COVID? Absolutely not. Did we have health care before COVID?
Was fuel access?
Even fuel, So, but they are now trying to hold a person who is drowning, even if he sees a piece of grass on the water, he thinks it can save him. So they are trying to make all kinds of noise about what caused this crisis. Okay. They are not willing because you see they are not even yet willing to adjust. I told you that teachers who get literally nothing have not had salaries for months. Yet somebody takes 2 billion and that one cannot delay even for a day.
For it, it's available.
Very, very available. Everything else can stop. So, it's that insensitivity that we must first sort out.
Okay.
So that everybody realizes that we are equal citizens. We must have an equal voice.
Okay.
We must have equal opportunities. If there is oil, it is our oil, and we shall share into its promises equally. And if they don't want that, we shall also sing and I don't even see, it's simply not sustainable because that pipe How will they guard it from all these hungry people? You know,
Creating jobs for soldiers.
you know, the soldiers themselves will break it.
You are still on the interface with Dr. Chiza Besigye. These are real alternative views that you can't find anywhere else apart from when you tune into the alternative Uganda and when you keep yourself on the TikTok TV. Doctor, there is still a comment here. Someone says, can any African country stand without foreign orders? Yet such governments like Uganda's budget fully depend on the foreigners. Yes, what do you think of such?
Well, first of all, there is no reason why we should not interact with other countries.
Okay.
We need other countries, and other countries need us. So, and that's why there is the Ministry for Foreign Affairs in every country, so that they interact. And also as part of governance, you know, the head of state is always looking out for friendships and partnerships with all other countries. But you see, when you talk about taking orders and depending on their loans, that is a different matter, because as I have told you, Uganda should be a surplus country.
Surplus.
Yes, we should have enough to do what we need and to spare.
Okay.
We should be a donor country, not a donor recipient. There is absolutely no reason. It's all just governance. You know, when I was in South Africa some years ago, South Africa had a surplus. In fact, they were having a surplus of about $5 billion
Surplus.
annually.
Ay.
They had
serious budget.
Yes, they had surplus. They have not done anything else, but now they are also indebted. They are in serious
Governance
debt.
issue.
Governance. So, you know, really, if Ugandans are serious and tackle the governance issue,
Okay.
and this is why I was, you know, I have always been saying that it doesn't matter who is leading. If people are in charge
Okay.
and can assert their will, regardless of who is leading, he must do their will. You see?
Okay.
And, you know, in Uganda, I can tell you it would take a very, very short time to turn things around, because there are not many countries like ours where nobody buys food here, you know, anybody can eat. You know, there are very, very few countries in the world like that where food is a given. You know, people are throwing away food everywhere, and you throw it away and it grows. Yeah. There is no country. We are the Canaan that is talked about in the Bible, and the Garden of the Eden. We are the Garden of Eden, you know. So we have far, far less reason to be controlled by debt. There is no reason why we should be indebted and therefore tied to the whims of those whom we owe. So, but, you know, these are choices Ugandans will have to make.
Okay.
In order to get there, they must sacrifice. And that is what I have been daily imploring all our people to consider.
Okay.
That we solve the political question once and for all. And once it is solved, by the way, it will be solved once and for all. Once people reassert their will fully,
Okay.
nobody will take the power away from them again. Because they will know how to get it back if anybody tries. You know, once they have. So it's like they defeated the colonialists.
Okay.
We now have some experience on how to do that. We are still, you know, baffled by these, you know, witches and and peasants
Peasant leaders.
who are causing us problems. But once we overcome them, that will be it. Everybody will be a servant of the people. Not what you hear in your intro. I'm not a servant. Everybody will have to be a servant of the people. If you are in a public office.
Doctor, you need to use these remaining minutes to wake up Ugandans.
Well, even all this time that I have been seated here, frankly, that's my hope that people understand where we are. And that is the starting point.
Okay.
Because without understanding the problem, you cannot start to solve it. And this is not a problem that will be solved by others.
Okay.
For example, that the Europeans will solve our problem. No. This is a problem we have to solve ourselves.
They can't protect our oil, the
No,
Europeans.
we have to protect it ourselves. We have to solve our problems ourselves. Others may help us
Okay.
in the process of doing that, which help is welcome. But as the Baganda say, nanyini mufu yakwata awawunya. The person who is aggrieved must be the one to do the toughest job in the process of sending off the loved one. You can't rely on, you know, people from outside the home cannot cry more than you, the bereaved. If they find you crying, they join you and you cry. So we have to do the tough work ourselves.
Okay.
That's why every one of you out there, once you understand that God gave us everything to live comfortably, and we can live comfortably, and know that the obstacle is simply those who have used force to dominate us. And to understand that we have the capacity to overcome this domination. There is no reason why we cannot get together, even if it was just within 1 week. If we get together and we know what to do, things here will change and Uganda will be a new Uganda from there. So please wake up every other person, because not everybody has the opportunity to get this information. There is a lot of disinformation going around from our captors, those who want us to remain in captivity, who keep on, you know, disseminating false hope. Things are going to be okay. Parish Modo, I don't know, Bagagawale, Wereth Kuriye, Road, what? You know, all this is nonsense. Let's see through it. Let's know that we have to regain full control of our country and of our power to organize our wealth and our resources for the benefit of all of us. It's doable, and I hope that we can do it. For me, I made a very, very final decision many years ago that I will not live as a captive. I will fight for my freedom, for my rights, until I get those rights, or by the grace of God, if it's not possible, that I will die doing so. So let's and whether you fear or do what anyway, you are going to expire, and you'll expire sooner if we don't have a good government, because you will have no health care, you will have no sanitation, you will have no environment, good environment in which to live. So in order to achieve those, we rather sacrifice whatever it takes to create a new government that is coming from us, that we control, and that serves us. It's possible, it's achievable, let's go for it. And I thank you always for providing the opportunity to wake our people up. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, for the time that you've always given us and the time that you've always given to the Ugandans as you respond and as you tackle on a number of issues. Doctor, as we break off, I feel that we need perhaps you have to have your say on this comment from one of the people following us. He's taking us back to the other issue, Doctor, where you talked about the peasant and the peasant leaders. And he says, are you, Doctor, trying to mean that leaders should be rich? What does that say about the selfishness that you highlighted earlier?
No. Growing up in security doesn't mean that you are rich. No. Growing up as a secure person simply means you've grown up in a better environment than the others.
Okay.
And that's the environment we would want all our children to grow up in. Not to have, wealth, but to be assured of education, that they are not going to be chased out of class, chased out of this. I'm not going to be allowed to sit exams. The insecurity, children of peasants in our countries live with. Insecurity of food, that you are not sure whether you'll have food and have a full tummy in the morning, that you have eaten enough and that you will have and you'll go to bed comfortable. Insecurity of shelter, even to have a roof over your head, that you are not being chased out of a house and this and that, or even off your land through this land grabbing and so on. This, that insecurity, which the dominated live in normally, is what creates the vices, or increases the vices, when persons of that background get uncontrollable power, untempered power. Then all these insecurities that they grew up with explode into actions that are very, very dangerous for the country. So it's not that, first of all, I'm not saying this to in any way denigrate or demean or speak bad of our peasants. No. It's not their fault that they live in situations that don't provide that kind of security, social security. That they are being thrown off the land. They cannot afford, all these, ordinarily bottom line requirements for human existence. So I was simply saying that where we now start getting, and which we must work for, to have children growing up in more security, we are likely to have better raw material in terms of public service. But that is not to say that this is a rule you know,
An
that
absolute
is
rule.
no, it's not. You still have, as I have pointed out, you still have people who have grown up
Nice families.
in security, behaving even a million times worse than those who didn't. And so the critical thing is really to have the people
Okay.
be the ones in charge, not to depend on the goodness or otherwise of the leader.
Okay, okay. That's the interface. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for the time. Thank you, our viewers. Thank you for all the time and all your resources that you spend as you keep watching this show. I request you that you keep sharing this link, keep informing your friends, keep informing all your circles about this show every Saturday. We shall be here next Saturday. Please don't miss. Doctor, as you say bye-bye to our people.
Well, I always will be glad to know that you are spending a good weekend, and so I must wish you one. And the coming week until we meet again, may I pray that our Lord keeps you safely and blesses you. Thank you.
May you have a good and a nice weekend, and may the Lord keep you and bless you. Let us meet next Saturday with Dr. Besigye.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.